Okay, I've only been out here for about a minute, but already I can tell it's gonna be a windy one. So what I am reviewing today is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Her name's Victoria. I had to read this for a book club. It's not something that I knew about outside of that or would have been interested in. And what it's about is a girl named Addie who's growing up in France in the 1700s, I think it is, 17 or 1800s, and she is supposed to get married because that's what her parents want her to do. She doesn't want to do that, and so she makes a deal with a demon, essentially, to save her from getting married, and because she says that she just wants to be free. And so this demon, or as he's referred to in the book, one of the gods that answer after dark, it's nighttime when she makes this deal, gives her this deal. And what he doesn't say is that the way he's going to achieve her living her life so fancy-free is that nobody will remember her anymore after they see her. So if she's having a conversation with somebody and they leave the room and come back, they no longer have any idea who she is. They have no context, and so you can imagine there's problems for her everywhere she goes. First thing she does is goes back to her parents' house, and her mom doesn't remember her, kicks her out. Nobody in her life remembers her, and she's granted immortality, but it's very hard for her. Like, she can't really have a job because nobody would remember that they hired her. She is homeless, having to steal clothes, steal food. And you'd think that with her immortality, because she has hundreds of years to figure it out, that she would maybe find a way to live comfortably within this, but that is not the case. That doesn't happen at all. And how she sort of starts out is just how she carries on. And she starts out feeling very immature. Like, her friend growing up gets married and has kids, and all she can say is that she doesn't want to get married because her friend seems so tired all the time taking care of her kids, and she doesn't want to be tired. And we don't really see her grow much past that in the book. She a lot of the stories, it flips back and forth between modern day, which is supposed to be in the 2010s, and her history of living with this curse for so many years. And all the stories are kind of centered around her hooking up with people, and she'll hook up with somebody for a couple months and they think it's a one-night stand every time, and then she'll move on to somebody else and hook up with somebody else for a couple months. And she likes to hook up with a lot of artists. She herself cannot write anything down, and she can't say her name. She can't draw. Like, anything that she does, it will just disappear. She also can't be mortally wounded. She can get hurt, but it heals. And so something that she kind of gets off on is hooking up with artists and then having them draw her or paint her or write a song about what they can't really remember the experience, but they just write the song. And so she feels like she's able to make her mark on the world through being portrayed in art, which I don't think that many people besides her would really care about. She seems very self-centered. And as I was reading the book, I was thinking that this sort of skill of not being able to be remembered would be good for like a spy movie or a spy novel or something. And it's implied at one point, somebody asks her, spoiler alert, there's a little twist. 300 years in, she can finally be, so one guy remembers her. And so she confesses everything to him that's been going on, and he asks her if she had ever been a spy, or he says something about like, oh, you'd make a good spy, and she's like, well, who says I haven't been? And we wouldn't know, because although that would have maybe been an interesting plot line, the story doesn't tell you anything about that. They just focus on stories that are based on her hooking up with people. And the demon visits her every year, and then sometimes he takes years in between off, but he asks her if she will finally relinquish her soul to him and basically die and be done with her freedom. And she always says no, 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 because she's annoyed that he had a little plot twist on their deal and has put her in this position, and so she doesn't want to give him the satisfaction. And then at a certain point in time, her and the demon start hooking up, and it's really weird. It always felt like he had the upper hand over her, and even though she was annoyed with him, it never really felt like she was able to figure him out, but he was supposedly so attracted to her, and you can't tell if he is lying that he's attracted to her or if he really is, and by the end of the book you still won't know. But it never feels like she really gives him much. She's not very clever even when she's talking to him. So it's hard to imagine what he was so attracted to about her. If he was, which maybe he was just lying. By the end of the story, she does agree to essentially give up her freedom for a life with the demon in order to save the boy who can remember her. It doesn't really mean much. I'll read you what I wrote at the back of my book. I said, this book wasn't great. The concept had a lot of potential, but instead of resting the plot on the interesting points of Addie's history, the story was all centered around sex and who Addie was hooking up with. It romanticized art with no meaning. Addie loved looking at art and being cast in art, but spent most of her life being of no service to anyone that the reader is ever made aware of. She starts off very immature, and we get no insight into her growing past that. Her relationship with the demon had no chemistry. It didn't feel like the author was achieving what she was trying to. The story would have been better if it had been about Addie overcoming her immaturity by helping others and becoming a likable character. Less hookups, more psychological games with the demon, an actual character arc. She's supposed to be giving up her life for this boy at the end, so that's one instance of her helping others. But she has 300 years, which the majority of the book is about, up until that point, that's just her focusing on herself and pitying herself for how difficult her life is and her stealing, and that's it. So do I recommend this book? No, I don't. Was it interesting? No, it wasn't. The concept of what you would do if no one could remember you and you were immortal is interesting, and maybe somebody else could write a better book about it. But this one was not interesting. I'm excited to hear what my friends have to say about it at book club. So far, nobody else has finished reading it, and I'm not surprised because it's not a massive page turner. So there's the book, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. If you're thinking about reading it, I mean, you still can, but I don't recommend it. But there you go. Okay, I hope you're having a good day. Bye.